Hello everyone, welcome back to Parkitect and welcome back to challenge mode. As you can see, we've got a new loading screen, which is really cool, and I guess this is to celebrate the 5th anniversary of Parkitect, so congratulations to the Textile Raptor team, the developers, and yeah, happy anniversary to the game, I guess. And that brings us into our next episode of challenge mode. Now I know that I haven't done this series since about February, March, something like that. It's it's been a good 8-9 months now. But I thought we'll get back into it. I've been thinking about doing something for a while. Someone sort of spurred me on a bit in the comments, encouraged it. So I thought, yeah, let's jump back in, see what we can do. Now the first sort of half an hour or so of this build wasn't really a build, it was me trying to get the new rotation mod working, which is Transform Anarchy, and I couldn't get it to work no matter what I tried. I tried removing other mods and I tried all sorts of trickery, but I couldn't get it to work. Rotation Anarchy, which I used in the last build, is now what's the word? Obsolete? Extinct, defunct, that's the word I'm looking for. So we can't use Rotation Anarchy anymore, unfortunately, and Transform Anarchy just isn't working. So the only mod I'm using in this build is Construction Anarchy, and I think that's fine. But if we do get a rotation mod that works again in the future, or works for me again in the future, I probably will just rotate some of these buildings to make stuff look a little less on grid. But anyway, on to what we're actually building in this one. So I decided we're going to have a pirate themed area for the park, which is something quite believable probably for a sort of UK park of this size. However, the level of theming that I ended up doing was probably a fair bit higher than a budget would allow in any theme park in the UK. But nevertheless, that's what I wanted to do. I want a bit of sort of originality with these buildings that I'm putting in, because now we've got the freedom with obviously not having to play in campaign with all the limitations of the goals and the research. I can pretty much build anything I want, and Construction Anarchy's got this new handy tool where you can make things, you can scale any item in the game. Any scenery piece can be scaled now, which is really cool. And you can see straight away I'm using that tool to build this sort of pier-like structure at the along the riverside, I guess, along the lake. This is running sort of around the back of the park. Then to the right, as you come in, you'll see how it all comes together. Eventually, unfortunately, I haven't done any recording for a live section for this video, so I do apologise. We've just jumped straight into the time lapse. That's basically because I just wanted to get on with it and build and see what I come up with, as to whether I was actually going to continue with the build or not. Sorry, just checking. Just checking my phone and concentrate on the commentary, come on. So really this first part of the time lapse, and it looks like I've got hardly anything done, but it did take quite a lot of time to make this pier type structure. Obviously it's a lot more custom made than ordinary scenery pieces. I'm not using any other mods. There is a pirate set mod that I could use to probably make my life a lot easier. But I want to see what I can do pretty much in vanilla, but just with the benefit of having Construction Anarchy. So you can see I've scaled down the borders to look like ropes and poles, so we've got a nice pirate theme there going on with that. I stuck some, what pieces were they? I think they were mushrooms or something, round the poles to look like bits of rope. And it's just a bit more difficult to do the diagonal sections. I did do them with diagonal borders, obviously, but I would have liked it to have been a little bit more freeform than that. But obviously that would have required, again, a rotation mod, which I'll stop going on about really, because otherwise I'll spend the whole episode whinging about how I couldn't get it to work. But yeah, I'm sure at some point there'll be some updates for the Transform Anarchy mod that means I can get it working in with my game, I guess. So you see now, put a couple of palm trees in just to see how it would look. These, of course, would probably be fake palm trees if it was in the UK, and I think they look kind of fake anyway. I don't think they look overly realistic, these ones. I think they're from the DLC pack, but they're a bit nicer than the generic vanilla palm trees, so yeah, I thought I'd use them. And that comes onto our restaurant building here, which is the sort of centerpiece. It's meant to look like a sort of pirate tavern type building. And I thought, let's see, even though we're working with the grid, if we can make things look a little bit more off-grid by the way we put them together. So using some adventure walls and standard borders, but I've put them 1/8 of a grid space out, so it makes everything a little bit more difficult to work with, but a little bit more off-grid. Using the borders as well, layering them up so they're a bit thicker, which I think is quite a cool effect. Just makes it look a little bit more detailed, I guess. And yeah, really just doing the sort of standard pirate style build with all the trim work on the building itself. And we do end up going for some custom windows as well, which you'll see in a bit. Rescaling the slanted, or the half slope, or the slope borders rather, for these bits as well. And then I just wanted to see what it looked like with standard windows, and it looks fine. But I thought, no, I'm going to try and be a bit more creative and do custom windows for this. You'll notice in this episode we don't get any rides in or anything really to draw guests over to this area, so the next episode, when I continue with this series, will have to be more focused on getting some rides in the park and, you know, keeping the guests happy. So it's going to be more of a gameplay episode, I guess, but obviously still with we'll still do theming as well. Like, fortunately, you know, I don't have to worry about meeting goals in a certain amount of time or anything. I can't even remember the park goals that I set myself for this map, but I think it's something like build 6 coasters with an excitement rating of whatever. So yeah, we've got 1 in at the moment that will have that excitement rating. It's just going to be a challenge actually finding enough space to put everything in without making it look it looking too cluttered. So yeah, you can see our nice custom windows going in there, made with pillars and poles. Yeah, I think I used the round pillars, but make them sort of 0.2 of a grid or whatever. And yeah, that looks pretty cool. And we move on to the roof, which was the main challenge of this. Obviously I wanted a custom roof, obviously I wanted individual tiles, and obviously that was a lot of hard work to put together, but it was definitely worth it, although I can't do too much of this in the park because it's very piece heavy and very performance intensive. So yeah, I think maybe we'll just do this for the sort of feature buildings, and then some of the supporting buildings will just have to be a little less detailed so that we don't make the game lag too much when we've only just got 2 sort of areas in the park at this point. The layout that I've got for this area is pretty much as it's going to stay. I think we're going to stick an attraction behind all this. I feel like I want to do a water ride in this area, but I feel like we need to put a coaster in as well, but I have no idea what sort of coaster to put in. Later in the episode you can see I put a wooden coaster station down just for like a placeholder, really, just so that, you know, I've got something there that I can refer back to see sort of whereabouts I'm going to put an attraction. But I think that'll probably end up being where the water ride goes. We probably want to do like a big facade as well for that, but getting a bit ahead of of everything here because we're still at an early stage of theming this area up. And as you can see, the roof is coming together bit by bit. You can see through it at the moment, so we have to place a piece underneath to hide all that, and this is all done using Adventure roof tiles, I think they are, but scaled down to like 0.12 or something like that. So yeah, it really shows what you can do with that scaling tool in Construction Anarchy to make much smaller detail pieces. And yeah, it's probably one of the best roofs I've done. You'll notice that I placed quite a few of the tiles sort of out of position to look like you know, it's a bit of a crumbling roof. There's a few bits missing, and yeah, it's a very, very old roof. So that was the idea with that. And then I did something that I've always wanted to do in Parkitect, and now I'm finally able to do it, and that is to add a decal to the roof. I think that's the right word, but yeah, basically, oh sorry, not to the roof, to the wall. So adding pieces that make it look like the walls, the paintwork or whatever is chipping away, and giving that really rustic look. I love when I see this in builds, and I'm so glad that I can now do it. And all it takes to do this really is to make some smaller wall pieces in the same places, and then just use basic shapes to cut out a shape and then stick an adventure wall piece behind it. All about the colours really used there to make it work, and yeah, I think it's such a cool detail for the building, and it's my favourite new trick. And every time I build anything now, I'm going to be placing these on. A couple of dormers going into the roof there as well, just to add some more detail to it. And you can really see that the building is pretty much complete, or most of the framework is now, just adding some lighting and some smaller details. We add a little Jolly Roger sign as well at the front, a little pirate sort of skull and crossbones, to indicate that this is the Pirate Tavern. And then building the pathwork around it as well. Obviously I wanted more off-grid pathwork, so we place a path underneath and then just stick a load of floor tiles over it. I also put some brickwork on the ground as well, so it's got a bit of a texture to it. I'm not entirely happy with the floor. I think maybe I should use the stone one in some areas as well, but that's something we can come back to anyway. You can see I've put a couple of little plants and bushes there as well, and it's starting to come together a bit more. Now, I wanted to build a custom crates and custom barrels, because I thought I'm just going to challenge myself and have a bit of variation from the usual crates that we do. The only problem here is using the blueprint tool to move them around. It's difficult to get them in the position you want. That's always the way I've struggled with blueprinting when you're doing stuff with mods and off-grid and stuff like that. So I think I end up just placing these manually where I want them, which is a bit more time consuming, but at least it works. And yeah, these are put together with scaled down borders, then just cube. Actually, I think they're hedge end pieces, and yeah, that's it really. And I also do some custom barrels, which are made from cylinders, I think. In fact, I don't think they're particularly custom at all, really. You could probably make them just with vanilla, but yeah, you'll see those go in a minute. And yeah, it's just a few little details like this that I might go back and do some more of in the future. It'd be really cool to have a parrot decoration piece, wouldn't it, for this style theming? That's something I'd love to have, like a parrot on a perch, but I don't think we've really got anything like that. I also end up adding some cannons, which is really cliched, but yeah, pirate cannons on the edge of the water works perfectly, really, doesn't it? You can see them going in there. And then I didn't really know what to do with this section of path that was going to link it to the rest of the park. So I just left it for now. I thought I was going to do that then, but I didn't. Adding some rock work in, and yeah, actually I think that's what I do, a bit of rock work and some planting, or some plants, whatever, some bushes, just to blend it in and make it look like it's not a path, a gridded path. So obviously, again, the actual path that the guests use will be underneath it, and it'll be following, you know, a zigzaggy sort of path so that they don't bump into too much of the scenery. And then the scenery is just aesthetics to make it look like it's, you know, a more off-grid path. I mean, this, to be honest, this could all be done in vanilla anyway, using the rocks and the bushes and stuff. But yeah, it just helps as well, having Construction Anarchy, though, being able to place the roof pieces over the pathwork as well. There's our placeholder coaster station then, that doesn't get used at all in this episode. And yeah, what am I doing here then? Adding some zones. So obviously the first building took sort of the majority of the time. The second building I put in really is just because I wanted some continuity from the first one. So it's a lot quicker to build because I'm just basically copying the first one but with a different layout. So you will see that in a minute after I place some fairy lights everywhere, and there you go. We cut quite a lot of that out because it's just more of the same thing. So I didn't really see the need to have all that in the time lapse. And this houses randomly a cash machine and some benches so that guests can sit inside, and then it's broken up into two halves. There's a staff room at the back as well, but that won't be able to be seen by guests. And then the staff area is kind of around the back of these buildings, but because we're going to have attractions back there as well, it's not really going to be blocked off from the guests. So yeah, it's not ideal, you know. I'd have liked to have done a backstage, but I want to use that space as well for more of the park, so unfortunately that's just how it's going to have to be. If guests see haulers bringing crates around, then so be it. Really, much easier this time with a roof because we're just copying it. I did try and delete as many pieces that are under the under this bit as possible, just to save on piece count, because otherwise it really adds up. And yeah, then after doing that I just had to fill in a few little details. The piece underneath is just the exact same roof piece but at its normal size, placed underneath, so like one of the adventure pyramid pieces basically. And yeah, here we go again then, doing my favourite thing to do now. Adding the I think they're called like dirt decals or something, aren't they? Or something like that. I know they have some in the Planet Zoo base game which look really cool. I mean, I haven't played that game for years, so I probably haven't even got the DLC that they're in, but yeah, it's yeah, quite a cool trick to do this, to be able to do this like that in Parkitect now. It's brilliant. I'm sure we always could have done it with mods anyway, but this is the first time I've had a go at doing something like that. Before I was doing in vanilla, using like the pillars and stuff, some of the adventure pillars, to try and emulate the same thing, but because it doesn't stick back into the building, it doesn't look quite right, whereas doing it like this is perfect. And yeah, that's our second building, so now you can see we've got a little bit of a pirate village together, which is quite fun. Yeah, I'm happy with how it looks. Adding some bushes and some flowers there. Pretty basic with the foliage. I've not gone overboard with it at all for this area. Although we're probably going to have a lot more sort of tropical trees and stuff in the background. But again, they've got to be sort of believable for ones that would grow in the UK. Which we don't really have tropical trees in the UK. There are some in Cornwall, but yeah, most of the country they just don't grow. or not the big sort of palm trees that you imagine in tropical places. So you can see now I put in a toilet block. This is our third and final building, and the last thing we're going to build pretty much in this episode today. So it's using a completely different style, but a very generic pirate style as well, almost like a pirate castle type building. And yeah, I tried to build little turrets using cylinder pieces that, no, not cylinder, but like curved adventure walls, and shrinking them right down, scaling them right down, but it didn't work in the end. So in the end I think we end up just having a fence there, and then I put in some pillars as well, so it's like a balcony type thing, and we put another balcony around the side as well. And then I try and work on a custom window and door, which you'll see in a bit, and we even give this building a custom roof as well, but because it's a flat roof it's much easier and quicker to do. This is the main challenge with this building, working out how to get in custom windows and doors. Again, I wanted them sunk into the building a bit, so they're a little bit more realistic, not just stuck on the side. And yeah, at first I was trying to use a sci-fi piece there, and that didn't work at all. So we just go for standard borders and pillars and stuff like that. And I have to just wing it a bit with these pieces to fill in the gaps, stick them a little bit further back so that we don't get any XY fighting or whatever it is. And yeah, I had to do the same for the door because it would have been a bit big, just left like it is there. But this is very similar to the windows that we've got on the other buildings in the area, so it's nothing too crazy there. And that almost brings us to the end of the build. I can see the time lapse is coming to an end, so I'm going to try and continue with this series now that I've got back into it. We're going to try and get some rides in next time, and yeah, start really making this into a proper theme park, and see if we can tie up the pirate area, I guess. I think this will probably be the most heavily themed area because I want the rest of the park to be as believable as possible for a mid-budget theme park, what I'd probably describe this as being. But yeah, we'll just see how it goes really. At the end of the day I just want to have fun building different stuff and just seeing what I can do with the vanilla pieces, but using Construction Anarchy really. So yeah, that's it. We'll also be carrying on with the campaign, and I'll also probably be playing a bit of Planet Coaster. We're coming up to the Christmas break now, which usually means I've got a little bit of time, after the 25th and after all the madness is finished, to sit down and play a bit, but we'll see. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. There's a little bit more time lapse for you to watch, and then the cinematics at the end, so do enjoy those, and I'll see you all over in the next one.